Grammy after Grammy, hit after hit, Café Tacuba has proven time after time that they are a force to be reckoned with.
He's got a record cat and he's talking about some random man is George music hunt.
Since 1989, we've had the same four dudes in Café Tacuba. We have Emmanuel Del Real, who is on keyboards, programming, drum machine, melodica, occasional guitar, occasional vocals. This guy is all over the place. Then we have Enrique Rangel. He plays the bass, sometimes a stand-up bass. He's also taken his stab at writing many of the tracks and singing on a couple as well. José Rangel is Enrique's brother, who joins us on the guitar. He, too, writes and sings songs on occasion, but we have our superstar, Ruben Albarran, who is the primary vocalist, and he plays some guitar as well, and the guy is super entertaining. Young Café Tacuba was taking inspiration from emerging indie and alternative rock bands that were growing in popularity at the time, while throwing in inspiration from their native homeland in all kinds of Mexican styles. They gigged around Mexico City until coming to the attention of Gustavo Santaolalla, producer at the time for Maldita Vecindad, as well as Caifanes. Together they released the self-titled Café Tacuba in 1992, which had 6 hits off of it, propelling them already to huge heights in Mexico. The album ranges from styles like punk and ska to electronica and hip-hop, as well as incorporating local styles like norteño, bolero, y ranchero. All the while, the album maintains a sound as a whole, and you can tell that it's the same album the whole time. Just a couple of years later, we have the album Rey, which was released in 1994 and appears at #1 at the top of Rolling Stone's Best Latin Rock Albums list. This album is where we start to see the style switches mid-song, and by the end of the song, maybe we're at a totally different style. The album has often been considered the white album of Mexican rock music because of all the different styles and the length of it, coming in at 60 minutes. Rey spawned many hits as well, and Café Tacuba continued to fly upwards. They were the first Latin rock band to ever appear on MTV Unplugged, which they performed in 1995, but didn't release on CD until 2005. After that, the band released an album of covers in which they played familiar songs in super unfamiliar ways, being a very daring album. These songs are amazing. They are all so much fun and so upbeat and enjoyable, and once again they seem to jump from style to style, taking classics and reworking them in new ways. Now is when we get into some really interesting stuff. This album here, Reyes Yo Soy, might never have been. You see, Café Tacuba seemed to hide away for a year or so, and when they came back to their record label, they approached them with a disc full of instrumental, experimental wonderfulness. But obviously record labels don't understand that kind of thing. So the label, WEA, said, "No, we're not releasing that. We want more of what's been making you popular." So in the end, they came to an agreement that Café Tacuba would record another full disc of songs that had lyrics and were of the similar vibe of their previous albums, while allowing the instrumental disc to be paired alongside it, yet sold for the price of one CD. So it was a bargain for the fans, and it was a win-win all around, I hope, for everybody. It became a Grammy-winning record, so I think it did well enough. This album is even long for a double album and comes in at a whopping 98 minutes, and I cannot seem to find it anywhere on the internet for less than $100. But not only that, you can't get it on our digital platforms either. It's almost like they don't want you to hear this album anymore. Around this time, Café Tacuba took a step back and they just relaxed with the family and worked on other projects for a little while. They came back in 2002 with a small EP called Vale Cajampa that was a tribute to a Chilean band called Los Tres, who I'm sure we'll learn about later on this channel. After that, they came back strong with another Grammy-winning album called Cuatro Caminos. This one was led by a single by our keyboardist, Emmanuel Del Real.
Pero lo que hoy siento es que sin ti estoy muerto, pues eres. Lo que más quiero en este mundo, eso eres.
and to me it marks the departure of the style that we were hearing beforehand. At this point, the band leans into new neo-psychedelic and indie pop sounds, and strays from a lot of their Mexican influences that I very much enjoyed. After Cuatro Caminos, they had the album Cena, which also has some fantastic hits and some interesting rhymes. This album definitely takes you places, though again, I feel like I missed the Latin influences. That album was in 2007, and then we have 2012's El Objeto Antes Llamada Disco, which honestly I haven't listened to quite as much as the other albums, and I know that there's a lot of variety on here, I just haven't sat down to fully appreciate it. The latest studio album we've heard from Café Tacuba is Hey Baby from 2017, which has won a Latin Grammy, and I actually really enjoy a lot of this album, especially Futuro. Maybe it's simply that I've listened to this album more than the other 2000s albums, but I actually really enjoy Hey Baby, minus the first song, 1, 2, 3. Often when I turn on this album, I started at track 2, which is a great song called Matando, but I think that one is a little bit too repetitive. I have gripes about this album, okay? But it's still good. So in 2019, their second MTV Unplugged features an orchestra behind them, and the sound of the band with the added instrumentation is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so glad that this album exists. Hopefully the future brings some wonderful things for Café Tacuba, and we continue to hear great things from them. I hope that they can maintain this lineup for maybe longer than ZZ Top was able to maintain theirs. Rest in peace, Dusty Hill. But if you're wondering where you should start listening to this band with 8 studio albums and 3 excellent live albums, I would say there's a few different approaches. I think chronological order is a great way to approach this band. But if you're someone who might just listen to 1 or 2 albums and drop it, I'd say if you are dying for a studio album, go for Ray. Ray is what got me into the band. It's 60 minutes of style hopping, and it's a lot of fun. I very much enjoy it, and I've seen it light up other people's faces. I literally witnessed that happen. But if you wanted to listen to a live album, any of the MTV Unplugged or the 3-disc live album that they have as well are all great intro points for the band. Obviously, those span their whole career and just give you a touch of the best songs here and there, and there's no doubt that that's a great way to approach this band. If you're someone who's into progressive rock and experimental rock, I would definitely search out Reyes Yo Soy. Again, I don't know where to find it right now besides on YouTube. Maybe you're not like me at all and you don't want to touch an album, you want to just listen to a song or two. Any of the singles off of the first couple albums is a great way to go, but you can also check out 2017's single Futuro and the great music videos that go along with it. There's actually 2 music videos for Futuro, and they're both very enjoyable, so check that out. If you're looking for my favorite, clearly I'm very partial to the early stuff. I've listened to those first 3 albums countless times, and unfortunately I haven't been able to listen to that 4th album, Reyes Yo Soy, as often as I would enjoy. I do come back to Hey Baby from 2017 quite often, and I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice by not listening to those other 2000 albums as much as I should be. So guys, tell me what you thought of Café Tacuba, today's video, my setup. I don't know what I'm doing here yet. I'm just kind of fiddling around, so any input would be very welcome. You know how to support YouTubers. You gotta like, subscribe, and comment to keep them afloat. Make sure that we know you're enjoying the content. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. I very, very much appreciate you. Check out my video on Caifanes.